You cannot make this up. We've got some more details about the upcoming Star Wars film starring Daisy Ridley as Rey that's supposed to take place 15 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker. And a new synopsis claims that she will be training a new female apprentice who is, quote, destined to emerge as the future leader. So let's kind of go over what we know about this film. In a press release during Star Wars Celebration, Lucasfilm shared that Kathleen Kennedy then revealed that Star Wars will head into the future with a new feature set 15 years after the last events of the Skywalker saga. Charmin Obaid-Chinoy will tell the story of rebuilding the new Jedi Order and the powers that rise to tear it down. The director then delighted fans by welcoming Daisy Ridley to the stage, confirming she will be reprising her beloved role as Rey in the upcoming movie. Kathleen Kennedy then spoke to IGN about the movie. She said, well, we're 15 years out from Rise of Skywalker, so we're kind of post-war, post-First Order, and the Jedi are in disarray, and there's a lot of discussion around who are the Jedi, what are they doing, what's the state of the galaxy. And she's attempted to rebuild the Jedi Order based on the books, based on what she promised Luke. So that's where we're going. That's the books within the actual story that she took from the Jedi Temple, not like expanded universe books. She was then asked if Luke's depiction as a cautionary tale in the Disney sequel trilogy will play any part in this upcoming film, and she said, I don't know, as we'll spend a lot of time in flashbacks or Force Ghosts or things like that, but certainly the spirit of what he represents to her is going to be significant. That really doesn't tell us anything. But she then spoke to Empire, saying, what we're exploring is the evolution of the Jedi. We're going very far back. We're looking at the present, and now we're moving 15 years after the rise of Skywalker. The First Order has fallen. The Jedi are in chaos. There's even a question of how many exist anymore. And Rey's building the new Jedi Order based on the text that she was given and that Luke imparted on her. She then appeared on Entertainment Weekly's Dagobah Dispatch, where she said, well, as we move into the future space, which this story is about 15 years outside of Rise of Skywalker, obviously we realize that post-war, post-First Order, Rise of the New Jedi Order, we left Episode 9 with Rey making a commitment to Luke Skywalker that she would rebuild the Jedi Order, and so here we are ready to do that. And it took a lot of discussion because obviously we've been developing stories in different spaces. And television has been a big focus of our attention right now, but there's still so much interest in what happens after Rise of Skywalker. So we are excited to be doing that now. I don't know anyone who is interested in seeing what happens after the Rise of Skywalker. They were better off just literally going to the actual expanded universe, going to Star Wars Legacy, the Dark Horse books that were published back in the early aughts, and adapting those would have been a much more interesting story. And you actually would have had Luke Skywalker as a Force ghost as he talks to one of his descendants, Cade Skywalker, and his struggles between the dark side and the light side. Later in that same interview with Entertainment Weekly's Dagobah Dispatch, she was asked a question about James Mangold's basically first Jedi film. And she said, we've been talking a lot about going well into the past. And one of the things that's really knitting this all together, obviously, are the Jedi. What happened with the Jedi over time, much like history? How did the Jedi evolve? They were wiped out with Order 66. Then they gradually have been coming back. The question that we're going to ask with New Jedi Order and with Rey is, does the galaxy need them anymore? Do they want them back? What an absolutely absurd set of questions to base your movie on. Again, who really wants this aside from Kathleen Kennedy and the people that seem to be ignorant of what actual Star Wars fans want to see that work at Lucasfilm? She then said, so there's a lot of food for thought in what we're doing, whether it's in the past, present, or future. So now we've got a new synopsis. This is coming to us from issue 1335 of Production Weekly via Screen Rant, and this is what it reads. Set roughly 15 years after Rey's victory over Palpatine at the end of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, the sequel delves into Rey's courageous endeavor to restore the Jedi Order. That's actually should have been Luke Skywalker's courageous endeavor that they completely stole from him in the Disney Star Wars trilogy. Nevertheless, it goes on and says where she assumes the role of a mentor to two promising young students, a girl and a boy. As her training progresses, it becomes evident that the girl possesses extraordinary abilities, destined to emerge as the future leader. I mean, you literally cannot make this up. Doubling down on the female-centric Star Wars stories. doubling down on basically a new version of Rey. They're basically going to try and redo what they did in the Disney Star Wars trilogy, and this time just introduce a new character with Rey training her now. I mean, this is literally rewriting of George Lucas's Star Wars films, as well as some of the most influential expanded universe books out there. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting and honestly quite pathetic. But what's interesting is this isn't really the first time we've heard this. We actually have heard this a little bit earlier here, right after Star Wars Celebration. Scooper Jeff Snyder actually shared what he had heard from the scrapped Damon Lindelof script for this film. If you remember, Lindelof had been attached to this new Jedi Order film with Daisy Ridley. He was supposed to be writing the film, but he is now off of it. But this is what was supposedly in his script. He said, "This is what Snyder said. It was supposed to be an older Rey training two Jedi, a man and a woman, who I think both would have been of color." Sounds familiar to that synopsis, right? A boy and a girl that Rey is training. Albeit, we now know what their race is. We know, I guess, what their skin color is. And then Snyder went on and said, now they didn't go out to this actress. This was not offered, but she was the comp. She was the person they put together. Casting list. This is ideally who we want. It doesn't necessarily mean that the prototype person is that person that gets the casting, but basically, older Rey, they were thinking of Helen Mirren. And so that's pretty much what Jeff Snyder had to say. Sounds very familiar to kind of what we're getting, but instead of maybe this older Rey played by Helen Mirren, we're now getting a younger Rey, a little younger Rey, I guess, played by Daisy Ridley. And instead of having her train maybe two adults, she's now training maybe two young adults, two juveniles, like teenagers, something like that. But again, this is an absolutely terrible idea. It's literally dead on arrival, and it'll probably be a worse box office bomb than Solo, a Star Wars story. But I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Lucasfilm, for giving me lots of things to comment about and show how terribly run your company is.